Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our British Water Thought Leadership Plus series. So my name's Steve Slessor, and I'm the current chair of British Water. And today, I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Carly Perry, who's Managing Director of Spring, and she'll be sharing her thoughts on the key challenges facing our sector and how we can work together to shape its future. Good morning, Carly. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing fabulous, thank you. We're recording this on a Friday, so end of week happiness.
Oh, that's great. Great stuff. Great stuff. So we'll fire straight in. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit more about how you first got into the water sector and what drew you to it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started in the water sector in a research and development centre of excellence, quite similar to Spring, but much larger, a couple of hundred people in Australia. And I worked in the infrastructure team. So it was nearly 20 years ago I started there, which that time has flown. Our first water client was Sydney Water. So I went and sat down with the executive team at Sydney Water, and they gave me a shopping list of problems, asking me, could machine learning help them solve these problems? One of them specifically being, could it help us better predict failure in the network? The answer was obviously yes at that point. And for me, really, it was like a planets aligning moment in terms of my skills and values coming together. I absolutely love problem solving. I absolutely love the environment, and putting those two things together was great for me in terms of career and leaning into excuse me, water. I don't know about you as well. Water for me, it's like I'm at my happiest when I'm in water. So I'm very passionate about trying to secure the future of that, for myself personally and for everyone as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Carly. And that sense of purpose, I think, is strong in lots of professionals that I certainly know in the water sector. And I guess, what keeps you motivated to stay here? I mean, there's a lot going on just now, so we're keen to understand that.
Yeah, I think it's leaning into that problem solving piece that I mentioned, actually, because we know we have a lot of big, challenging, complex problems to solve, whether that's river health, water efficiency, reducing carbon use, or whatever it might be. Finding new ways to solve those problems really motivates me. And I think just to give a couple of examples that I think are relevant for suppliers, we've got two service offerings that really connect suppliers into solving problems. One is knowledge sharing, one is brokerage. And we had a scenario recently with a supplier called Spatial Insight from the Netherlands, who had a great predictive tool for leakage. So we shared the knowledge with 12 water companies in the UK, and now they have their first UK water company client and are progressing into the market here. So being able to make those kind of connections really motivates me to do more.
Fantastic. That's a great example, of what Spring's capable of. And so, on that theme, what's your present priorities for Spring?
Yeah, I would split this into, we have some tactical priorities right now, and when we have some strategic priorities. So on a tactical level, hopefully people have seen, we've been collecting intelligence on innovation that exists in the PFAS space. So our goal is to coordinate the sector's response to forever chemicals. And we've collected close to 200 projects now from around the world where people have been trying to solve some of our PFAS challenges. So we're building that into an intelligence report, which then identifies where we can share knowledge into the UK and Ireland water sector, but also where the gaps in innovation are and how we can mobilize innovations in those gaps. So that's a big priority for us right now, is coordinating around the PFAS space. On a strategic level, my big ambition at the moment is securing the long-term future for Spring. In the current climate, we've got hyper scrutiny of us as a business, the value that we're delivering, but that does make it quite difficult for us to secure long-term funding for the business, and it's very resource intensive having annual funding conversations. So what I'm really looking to do is look into that long term, and how do we create a sustainable model for the sector's innovation centre of excellence so that we can help with the long-term challenges that we've got. And I think all of that links into the Independent Water Commission recommendations as well, that talk about slow productivity gains, low research and innovation investment, moving from competitive innovation to collaborative innovation. So my goal is to look at Spring and how can we support the sector to deliver against some of those recommendations as well.
Well, that sounds fantastic, Carly. And, I've known you for a good while now, and I'm sure you're going to be super successful in that. And the industry needs it. And so as such, how would you like to work with the supply chain, to help bring Spring's work forward and achieve some of those objectives?
Yeah, so I think it's worth saying the supply chain are really key to the success here. Innovation needs to be at the core of the services and products that are being delivered by the supply chain, and we want to create a more effective path for those products and solutions to get in to the sector. So, starting with that why, we want to reduce duplication of effort for supply chain. So we want to create intelligence on the problems that need solving and intelligence on the innovation that already exists to connect those pieces together. So we don't want suppliers having to knock on 18 doors and have the same conversation. We want to be able to do that connecting for them. So I guess my ask is, we know at the moment that we're only scratching the surface in our engagement with the supply chain. So I really want to raise awareness and engagement on our services and how to engage with us. So just to be a bit specific about that, we have a deep understanding of water company innovation priorities. So what we need from suppliers is innovation that truly solves those problems. So my ask is to share intelligence with us. So if you have solutions that meet big sector problems, and if you want more clarity on what those problems are, the water innovation strategy on our website is a great place to start. Please send those solutions to us. And what we can do is when we send this link out, we can put some extra information in about how to connect with us and how to send solutions in to us. I'd love to also put a early call out. Next year, we will be focusing on biosolid innovation. So keep an eye out for 2026. That will be our theme that we're looking at. I think a second ask as well is, there's a cultural shift that needs to happen here in terms of innovation. And I'd really love to ask the supply chain to share success stories with us, keep the momentum and good news stories around innovation moving, but also be honest in those stories about what was challenging, what did you learn, what can others learn from that experience as well. So yeah, it's really a raise awareness and engagement with us, and then also help us tell the stories of innovation in the sector as well.
Ah, fantastic. And I think that'll resonate with a lot of our members who've been on those journeys over the years, and some of our newer members that are beginning those journeys in the UK water sector. You mentioned earlier, about the Cunliffe review, and I'd be keen to get your views on how Spring's preparing to support the sector to respond to the recommendations of the review, specifically around regulatory reform and systems planning.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's worth kind of starting with the Independent Water Commission report calls out that productivity gains in the water sector are incredibly low at 0.1%. It also calls out that investment for research and innovation is incredibly low compared to other sectors. So in the total innovation spend in the UK, the water sector is 0.1% compared to telcos, which is 2.4%. So we see a really big opportunity here for all of us to collectively come together and mature that ecosystem and deliver, accelerate innovation. I'll come back to your kind of regulatory regime and systems planning bit in a minute, but there are three specific recommendations in that report that we think Spring can directly engage with. One is around introducing regulatory sandboxes. So it's about de-risking innovation and creating a safe environment to test innovations in before it is implemented. Now, obviously, we need intelligence on what the priority areas of innovation are to do that. So we think that we can link in our intelligence to that. A second recommendation that links to us is around funding mechanisms. So there's a push to increase collaborative mechanisms rather than competitive mechanisms. Again, to do that, we need intelligence on what are the priorities and where should we be focusing collaborative investment. So we think that we can feed into that. Finally, there's one in the report that is directly around maturing knowledge sharing in the sector. So that links straight into our service offering. The report does identify it as a Water UK responsibility, but we have spoken to Water UK and agreed that it is a Spring remit, and we're going to be working closely with Water UK, British Water, other central associations, so that we can mature the sector's knowledge sharing culture. So we have a vision that we want to unlock faster adoption by creating a world-class knowledge sharing culture. So that's really something that we're going to be focusing on. But bringing all of that back to the big picture stuff in the report, for the change in regulatory regime, for systems planning, it already links into this. We want Spring to be the go-to place for innovation intelligence, and that helps with a better regulatory regime. It helps with system planning. So it's only year 3 for us so far. You know, we are still reasonably new in the sector, but each year we are maturing and cementing that position as the go-to place for intelligence. So hopefully that will help.
I must admit, the regulatory sandboxes concept is something I'm really keen on. You know, I see the success that Ofgem and Ofcom have had when using that, and what the benefits have been for customers, you know, and reducing bills. So I look forward to seeing how Spring develop their thinking in that, Carly. Yeah. So, and again, as a theme of that, what we just talked about, what does true collaboration look like to you in practice? You know, how do we make it actually happen? I mean, you know, the water sector is quite diverse here in the UK.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, you know how sometimes innovation gets used as a buzzword, or it gets used as innovation theatre rather than true innovation. And I do think sometimes we can fall into that trap with collaboration as well. I think true collaboration means we're aligning around shared priorities, we're pooling our intelligence together, we're acting collectively. It's not just about sharing updates with each other. And I think you're right that the diversity in the sector is real. We've got diversity in the water companies' sizes and what they deliver. We've got diversity in the supply chain of global suppliers through to small startups. And I think that brings credibility to the situation. But I think it means that sometimes collaboration can be complex and it needs intent and structure. It doesn't just happen naturally. Our goal within all of that is to simplify that system. So how do we connect the right people to the right problems, to the right evidence, building partnerships that can then act with confidence that they're solving the right problems together. So I think it's that point of collaboration isn't just a value, it is really a practical route to getting more done with less duplication, which is exactly what Spring is all about.
Oh, that's a fantastic answer, Carly. And, you know, I couldn't agree more. You know, collaboration is absolutely key to success for lots of different reasons. And I guess it leads into my next question is, you know, what do you see as the 3 most pressing challenges that, you know, the water sector is currently facing? But actually, I'm really interested to know is what Spring are doing in those around trying to address them.
Yeah, sure. I think I'd like to take a slightly different approach to this, because the gut wants to go down the listing operational challenges that we've got. But I think what I would say is, in terms of the top 3, if I bundle all operational challenges into one, because we know that we've got water quality, river health, novel pollutants, resource efficiency, all of those things we know are big operational challenges. But we also have ways of working challenges. So, you know, fragmented innovation, slow adoption, I would put that on the top list as well. And also, I think at the moment, public trust, value for money is having such a huge impact on everything else in the sector. So to kind of go through each of those, I think operational challenges, the public regulatory pressure that we've got at the moment, we know it's rising. We know these are complex problems to solve. Spring is working to convene everyone around global intelligence so that we can focus on solving those problems. And I don't say any of that lightly. It's a huge amount of work and effort that needs to go into doing that, but it's really impactful if we can get that right. I think on the fragmented innovation and slow adoption, what we're trying to do is create a single view of what is happening, where the gaps are, how we can scale the innovations that have already been proven. So our knowledge share service leans straight into lessons around adoption. So when we publish reports at the end of a knowledge share project, they are going to have adoption lessons in them. So we're hoping that that will help from that aspect. Something else we've been doing as well, another example here is Welsh Water came to us and said, we see a gap in the innovation market for a PFAS analyzer. But we want to create a spec that works across the sector rather than just for Welsh Water, because then it will accelerate adoption of the innovation across the sector. So we pulled together all the water companies, created a sector-wide spec for the tool, and that is now progressing into the Ofwat Innovation Fund and will hopefully be progressed next year as one of the winners. So I think that kind of exercise can really help bring together this fragmented innovation system and help accelerate adoption. I think
I think that's good.
Steve.
Sorry, I thought you'd finished there, Carly, but it's
Right.
just great examples. I mean, I have this theory about innovation purgatory. So it's great to hear that Spring are trying to cut through those levels of hell as you head into purgatory around innovation. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The last one just to mention is around public trust. I think at the moment, we know that public confidence is low. I think we're seeing some concerning behaviour because of that, but it's also understandable behaviour because of that. So it's a really tricky position. But ultimately, what Spring is here to do is help the sector do more with less, which is what customers want and expect from the sector. So we all have a role to play in that, but I think that's definitely one of the biggest challenges that we're facing at the moment as well.
Yeah, and I think the point you made earlier about innovation sandboxes can really help with that, because they are a great way of transparency and creating public trust, which I think, as you say, is really, really important.
Absolutely.
What are some of the most exciting or impactful innovations you've seen emerging recently, and what do you see as the biggest opportunity for innovation in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I'd love to give some examples from the PFAS work we've been doing, because that's top of mind for us at the moment, and also because we've been collecting some global examples, which I think it is great to bring into the conversation. So there is a solution called Oxyle, which is a drinking water treatment technology that eliminates short, medium, and long chain PFAS. So what it's doing is bringing PFAS limits to below detection limits, and it's a solution from Switzerland. And it has been getting quite a bit of traction in the conversations we've been having with subject matter experts in the sector around PFAS. So I think that's a great one to call out. A second one is actually a UK example. So more on the raw water monitoring side of things. So University of West London and Thames Water have been working on mapping the environmental fate of PFAS chemicals. So it integrates chemical analysis, modelling, AI, and that's been getting quite a lot of interest as well. Also, on the topic of PFAS, we know that the US has taken quite a different position to the UK. So there's a lot of findings coming out from AquaArden and EPA around destruction technologies as well. So I think that those are some hot topic ones for us at the moment that we can see getting a lot of attention. I think in terms of future opportunities and innovation are always rife. As we've talked about, we've got a lot of problems that we need to solve in the sector. Some things that I'd like to call out: circular water systems, I see as one of the biggest opportunities here. We need to shift our mindset from linear to circular water systems. So we should be treating wastewater as a resource. We should be recovering energy and materials. We should be reusing water safely. So I think helping with that shift, there's a big role for innovation in there. I think as well, given my background starting in predictive analytics in the sector, I'd really like to call out data and digital integration. So what I mean by this is, it was 20 years ago that I started my career in predictive analytics for pipe failure. So we know the technology exists. There is a lot of solutions out there, but are we truly integrating it into our day-to-day business? So are we connecting sensors? Are we using AI and digital twins at their full capacity to predict failures? Are we optimizing energy? So how do we implement that innovation is the second thing that I'd like to call out. And just finally, I think I'd also always like to point out that people are so important to innovation as well. It's just as important as the technology. The people enable the technology innovation. So how we collaborate, how we share risk, how we share reward, how we share learning, innovation in all of that space is equally important.
That's a great segue actually into my next question, because this is something that I think is really critical to keeping the industry healthy. Is there's a lot of discussion about attracting and retaining talent in water.
Yeah.
What do you think makes the sector appealing, or perhaps an overlooked place to work?
Yeah, I mean, appealing, I think tapping into, again, like where we started this, of what appeals to me, it's that problem solving and fulfilling nature of the problems that we have to solve. Because if we think about individuals and their careers, being part of a solution feels really good for the soul. I think, especially at the moment where we have a lot of people criticizing from outside, I would love to invite them to come in and help us solve the problems and feel the fulfillment of solving the problems from inside as well. But I do fully appreciate that sometimes the sector is overlooked, because I think there's probably a perceived lack of excitement around water in the sector. I think some people look at the sector as old school, traditional engineering, which all of that is fabulous and needed. But what also comes with that is a whole bunch of innovation and exciting, dynamic skill sets that complement the engineering that we need. So I think, you know, it's about more than pipes and plants. It's about data science or circular economy or innovation, and all of those skill sets are transferable into other sectors as well. So if people wanted to come and learn and take those skills elsewhere, it's a great place to do that. And I think there's not a more not a better sector for making you feel fulfillment in the work that you're doing.
Couldn't agree more, Carly. I definitely agree with that. And on the back of that, what advice would you give to someone considering a career here in the water sector just now?
Yeah, I think I would say embrace the impact of the work that you're going to do. So that big picture piece of, we have big problems to solve around public health, climate resilience, keep that as your why you're doing it, because you will get frustrated. There are frustrating things that we are all trying to solve, but keep your why you're doing it strong, and it helps you with the frustration. And I would also say be curious and collaborative, because there is a reason why things are done the way they are, and you need to sit down with people and understand that to then be able to fix the problem. So you can, once you've understood why things are done the way they are, you can then look for the innovation priorities and the opportunities that there are. I think anybody who's willing to experiment, learn fast, help the sector, will get that feeling of meaningful career satisfaction.
Couldn't agree more, Carl. I love the being curious. It's something that I think is so important, from anybody that are looking for a career here in water. And from your experience, what kind of culture or leadership style really encourages innovation and keeps those people engaged?
Yeah, I think innovation culture is so important, and I think because it's not a tangible technology, we sometimes put it in the too hard basket, and it's not something that we prioritize, but it is so critical to success. And I think that we need a culture where people feel safe to ask questions, to be curious, back to that point, to challenge the assumptions, share ideas without fear of failure. So we need to celebrate the curiosity, not just tolerate it. And I think our leaders need to not just direct, but create the conditions for people to succeed. So we need clear goals. We need to remove obstacles that are stopping success. We need to connect to the right people, have the right resources, partners to turn those innovation ideas into impact. And then I think I'd also say recognize people for doing great things. Make sure people are rewarded and celebrated, so that then they feel engaged and encouraged and motivated to continue solving problems as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on with that. That creation of culture is so important to getting that result at the front end innovation. And so I guess, Carly, we're coming to an end. So finally, here's a chance for you to plug Spring. You've got the great and the good of British Water watching you today. And so over to you. Anything you want to talk about or put on our radars that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, thank you for the opportunity to chat with you today. It's been great. And I think fully acknowledge that we have more to do to engage with the supply chain. We feel that we're only scratching the surface in our engagement at the moment. So my ask really is to share awareness about us, and we'll send some tools to help do that, short videos that people can share in their companies, how to engage with us. And also come on this journey of sharing intelligence, discussing the challenges in innovation and maturing the ecosystem together. We want to be the central source of innovation intelligence for the sector, and that absolutely relies on the supply chain for us to be able to do that. So please get in touch, have conversations with us. Over the next year, we are going to make sure that we're getting back out to more events. When we have to focus on funding, it means our resources are limited and we can't get out to events as much. But hopefully we will now have the next few years secured, and then we can get back out and talk to people and let people know how they can engage with us as well.
Fantastic. Carly, it's been absolutely fabulous chatting with you today. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And thanks to everyone for watching. If you really enjoyed this conversation, we'd love for you to join us for the next one as we continue exploring how together we can shape the future of the water sector. And you can also view all the historical interviews that we've had on our website. Thanks for watching.